I always had a really creative brain, and my imagination used to always go wild when I was very young, watching television programs where kind of wild, wacky things were being created. And then I used to always go out into the backyard and just pull little old scrap bits of wood and try and build kind of elaborate little constructions that I could kind of dream up. So there was never a specific defining moment where kind of the creativity in my brain kind of just became ignited, but it was always definitely there from a very young age, and I kind of always knew there was that kind of fire and passion inside that I just had to keep letting that momentum build over the years as I grew older. It's quite interesting at school. The teachers were always very supportive, but the emphasis is quite often placed specifically on drawing and painting at school. And the way my brain works as a sculptor is a little different, because I see everything three-dimensionally. So it's kind of like in filmmaking where a camera will go right around an object. That's the way my brain kind of works. So it doesn't work in the kind of the flat, whereas artists who work with drawing and painting and photography tend to work with a flat surface and then create these illusions of space, whereas my brain kind of works differently. So I was always kind of encouraged, definitely at school, to kind of keep pursuing that kind of drive that I had, but I was kind of aware that as a sculptor I was definitely a little bit different from the other folks. So over the years, I've always been trying to push things forward in terms of contemporary sculpture practice by experimenting with new techniques and new approaches. So all the different materials would be kind of quite unusual, especially creating carved sugar cube sculptures. There's one smaller piece in the Arts Council collection, Henry Tate's Mausoleum, and that required developing this pioneering technique of actually carving cubes, which is really difficult to do, and then finding a way to actually fasten them together. Sugar as a material has this beautiful sparkling surface, so that's one of the qualities that kind of drew me to the property of sugar. And to create these big architectural constructions, some of which are about 5 meters tall, like a big tower for a museum over in England, and also then biological pieces that can be created with sugar to raise awareness about the dangers of sugar and diabetes. So I left school at 16 and I went to the South East Regional College in Bangor, and I did my A-levels there. And then I went to university for 6 years. So I did a foundation course in art design, followed by a degree, and then 2 years masters in fine art. So it was 6 years kind of on the trot. The yellow helicopter sculpture, yeah, that was a lot of fun to make. That was at a time where I was making a series based on these objects, which are actually usually quite rough and hard, the surfaces, and mechanical, very man-made, and it was to try and take a material like wool and create a more kind of feminine kind of feel to the object, and that softness. And the yellow is kind of associated with a rescue helicopter, so I was kind of trying to play with those different ideas of kind of the softness and transforming it with the material. And then another yellow sculpture, which is a giant waterfall in Ukraine. That's about 8 meters tall by about 10 to 12 meters across. That was a project as a memorial to over 10,000 victims who have died in the conflict in Ukraine since 2014. And that was at Kiev's biggest art museum, the Mazetsky Arsenal, and that was last year, so that was a great project to work with. And this is another good example where art and conflict resolution can actually work together, because this was a commemoration to all the lives lost kind of on both sides. It wasn't just one or the other. So art can have it can be used in a healing way to try and help society kind of deal with these difficult issues. If you're interested in visual arts, yeah, I think it's really important to remember that all the most amazing things in the world have actually all come from a creative thought. You know, from the iPhones in your pocket to cameras, televisions, that's all creative thinking. And even in business, no matter what business it is, they always need creativity. So to nurture that creative spark is so crucial. So never let anybody kind of kill that off, because no matter what you do in life, whether you become an artist or anything else, having that creative spark is absolutely crucial.